Austin Russell, better known as Chumlee, one of the stars of Pawn Stars, is in jail tonight. When the judge gave the final decision in Las Vegas, the courtroom was tense. Austin, Chumlee Russell couldn't handle the weight of his fate and fell to the ground in shock, sending shockwave through the courtroom and leaving everyone in stunned silence. What caused the heated arguments in court that led to the shocking showdown between the well-known reality TV star and the police? Here is a full account of the very heated court case that led to this point. Do not forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below if this story interested you. If you subscribe, you'll get daily updates with the newest news and most interesting stories. Watch out! Chumlee, the star of the hit show Pawn Stars, has become one of the funniest people on reality TV. His work has been going for over 10 years, and he is known for his sense of humor, laid-back attitude, and unique ability to make every episode of the hit channel show seem real. His place in television history is confirmed by memorable events, like the time he used his own video games to buy a professional pinball machine. In addition to his catchphrases, Chumlee left a huge impact that goes far beyond TV. His effect on the collectibles market, his part in making the gold and silver pawn shop famous, and his deliberate efforts to build a personal brand show how he went from working at a pawn shop to becoming a cultural figure and TV star. Chumlee became famous because he was easy to like, had natural charm, and stuck to being himself even when people didn't believe in him at first. Even though he was often played as the shop's funny character, he refused to be put in that role. Instead, he used his drive to become an expert in certain collectibles, which helped him become an important part of the Pawn Stars group. Chumlee's performance made him a fan favorite and solidified his position as the show's rising star. What really makes him stand out is his ability to connect with people through real depth and honesty. His lasting effect touched people all over the country and made him a well-known name. In addition to TV, his business efforts show how strategic he was as he built his own brand. Chumlee made a lot of money by building his personal brand through things like a candy clothing line and public events. Later, this wealth paid for his legal defense against shocking claims that made his fans very angry. After Pawn Stars did well, the show and Chumlee's business went in different directions. After its first episode, the show's popularity went through the roof, and it quickly became one of the most watched shows on cable TV. With more than 500 shows and streaming online, it keeps mixing up its signature style. Because of how well it was made, Pawn Stars became one of the most educational reality TV shows. At the same time, Chumlee was dealing with the problems that come with being famous. People quickly fell in love with the likable figure they saw on TV, and his public appearances drew big crowds, showing that his popularity went far beyond the show. But the big difference between how he was on screen and how he was really feeling caused problems that lasted for years. Chumlee said, "I've lived two very different lives. Fame can make you feel like you can't be defeated." Chumlee remembered, "I was determined to enjoy every moment, especially since everyone knew who I was everywhere I went." This drive led to a more extravagant way of life, but Pawn Stars stayed true to its roots in dealing with historical things and contracts. He had a lot of money, fancy cars, a mansion, and a huge collection of shoes and gold. Social media posts about his expensive shopping sprees got millions of views, giving him a public image that was very different from his earlier, more humble roots. Around the middle of the 2010s, Chumlee's rising personal wealth stood in stark contrast to his rising job success. As both shows got more popular, Pawn Stars had its most popular episodes, with over 7 million people watching. At the same time, Chumlee's personal brand grew. For example, Chumlee's candy shop on Las Vegas Street opened, and a behind-the-scenes product line did very well. It did, however, become hard for him to handle the stresses of fame, threatening to stop his work. Chumlee often said that his problems were caused by the quick change from being unknown to being famous. In a rare, honest interview, he said, "It drove me crazy to go from being a normal guy to someone who couldn't go to Walmart without taking 500 pictures. Things helped me get through it. It almost cost me everything." The chaos in his personal life was very different from how serious the show was becoming. By 2016, the difference between Chumlee's public image and his private life had grown so large, even though Pawn Stars continued to show him as the likable character that fans loved. Fans loved how innocent Chumlee seemed on screen, but behind the scenes, his life was going in bad directions that would soon be shown. Years of acting more and more carelessly got him into trouble with the law. A police raid on his home in Las Vegas in March 2016 was first linked to a probe into a sexual assault. Officer Rodriguez told the press that the search warrant was carried out as part of an ongoing probe, something that quickly got around in entertainment news sites. What the police found during the search led to new charges that had nothing to do with the original probe. The raid quickly became a big deal in the entertainment world, with blogs making guesses about how it might affect both Chumlee and the future of porn stars. A week later, TMZ came out with shocking information. Guns, drugs, and drug paraphernalia were discovered at Chumlee's house, which was very different from the happy persona that fans had grown to enjoy. Fans had seen him act humble on TV, but this was nothing like that. In a post that went popular on social media, a fan said that this has changed how people see Chumlee. If you like these stories, click subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of our films. Share this with your family and friends so that you can all read these interesting stories together. Type your ideas in the box below. What do you think about getting plastic surgery to change how you look? From the show, Chumlee never seemed like someone who had these kinds of problems. In the weeks that followed, the big difference between his public image and his private life seemed to be the turning point. Prosecutors put together a case and charged the reality TV star with multiple felonies, including having drugs and guns, which could get her up to 20 years in jail. If Chumlee was found guilty of all charges, the accusations would not only have serious legal effects, but they would also seriously hurt his carefully crafted public image. The lawsuits sent shockwaves through the entertainment business and put Chumlee's whole career and financial success at risk. Many experts thought that this might be the end of one of the most famous reality TV stars. Details about how big the discoveries were at Chumlee's house were shockingly revealed in court papers. Police found many kinds of weapons, including assault rifles, along with different substances and things connected to them, according to records of the evidence. In an interesting turn of events, though, the first search was prompted by an investigation into the claimed sexual assault. Due to a lack of evidence, no charges were brought against the claimed sexual assault, but Chumlee's way of life was very dangerous for everyone. As Chumlee walked into the courtroom, the mood was tense because of a document from the prosecution that suggested the harshest punishments based on the number and types of things found on the first day of the trial. His sad face was lit up by camera flashes. His co-stars on Porn Stars were noticeably missing, and the TV figure who used to entertain millions was now in trouble with the law for what he did. As the prosecutor began to lay the charges, Your Honor, this case includes serious violations of gun and drug laws. A huge number of illegal drugs and an arsenal of guns were found in the defendant's home. As pictures of the seized things were shown on the screen, the tension in the courtroom rose. It was seen that Chumlee was looking at the ground, shook his head from time to time when very bad proof was shown during the interrogation, which made the already tense situation even worse. Was it your evidence that Mr. Russell was running a business that sold drugs? Chumlee's lawyer asked the officer about the amount and kinds of drugs that were found, implying that they were not for personal use. Even though the officer answered with confidence, he did say that he did not find scales, packing materials, or a distribution list, all of which are common items found in trafficking situations. As the witnesses talked about the guns, the tension in the courtroom grew. Do you think that Mr. Russell is a famous collector of many things, such as old weapons? Chumlee's lawyer asked. The weapons expert Turley responded that collecting needs a license and the right way to store things, which made the case even more complicated. Chumlee was clearly worried as the judge told him to be quiet, unless he was called to testify. He was whispering to his lawyer. Legal experts spoke about the possible sentencing rules and stressed that people who are found guilty of these crimes usually get long prison terms. James Wilson, a former lawyer, said that the fact that there were guns and illegal drugs made the scenario even worse. Chumlee's defense focused on the fact that he had never been arrested before and said that his fame had made him lose his sense of right and wrong, saying that it had made it harder to tell the difference between normal and extreme behavior. His lawyer said, "My client was caught up in the whirlwind of excess, clouding his judgment." He stressed that his client had never meant to hurt anyone and had been a public person with good character in many ways. Fans were becoming more worried as the trial came to a close. This wasn't just a legal fight. It could mean the end of a popular TV personality, whose appeal came from being easy to relate to and harmless. Talks about plea deals became a big part of the trial, and lawyers on both sides had tense conversations. As people talked in depth about possible answers, the case's effects went far beyond Chumlee's personal freedom, as he could be jailed for years. People also thought about his job, which was hurt badly and could lose millions of dollars. He also had a bad reputation and an uncertain future on Pawn Stars. No matter what happened, the courtroom was packed with fans on the last day. Some were holding signs of support, and others were wearing Pawn Stars gear. When Judge Michael Davidson was in charge of the hearings, the mood inside was electric. After Chumlee agreed to plead guilty in the state case against him, the judge started the court proceedings as Chumlee got ready for his sentence. He carefully read the plea deal that the prosecution and defense came up with, taking into account both the factors that made the crime less likely and those that made it more likely. Papers moving could be heard as Chumlee stood there with his hands slightly shaking at his sides. The room was very quiet. The person who was charged pleaded guilty to one charge involving guns and one charge involving smaller amounts of drugs. As part of the deal, the judge went on to say that the remaining charges were dropped. As Chumlee's lawyers looked at each other carefully, he kept his tense face. The court did have to think about how bad the crimes were, though. The judge made it clear that having illegal drugs and guns that aren't registered was a major safety worry for everyone. It was clear who won. Chumlee would be put on probation for 3 years and have to go to therapy and get regular drug tests. And everything that was taken during the raid would be taken away. The really shocking part, on the other hand, came as a surprise. If he broke the rules of his probation, he would get 3 years in jail right away, without having to go through another hearing. With these terms, the court agreed to the plea deal. The judge then said, "Mr. Russell, you are now on 3 years of probation with close supervision to make sure you follow the rules. Any violation will lead to 3 years in prison right away." Do you know what these words mean? In fact, this was a big blow to Chumlee after months of trouble, especially since they could spend decades in prison. In his life, this was a very important turning point. It seemed like the truth of how close he was to losing everything, and the fact that his freedom now depended on him following the rules perfectly made him feel relieved. While the judge read the rest of the conditions, his face turned pale and sweat beads formed on his temples. The person who was charged also had to do 200 hours of community service. It got harder to hear the judge's words, loud enough for Chumlee to not hear it. When the room started to spin, his lawyer knew right away that something was wrong. His lawyer tried to steady him by putting a strong hand on his arm, but it wasn't enough. The reality TV star, who had millions of people laughing, fell forward all of a sudden. Guards ran to his side as the sound of his labored breathing filled the courtroom. The TV star, who made a name for himself by being relaxed, was now passed out in court, while the whole world watched him have a panic attack. A member of the medical staff yelled and pushed through the crowd to make room. As the emergency team rushed in, someone grabbed water, and photographers caught the crazy scene. It quickly took over popular news around the world. The well-known Pawn Stars character Chumlee was being cared for on the courtroom floor. The stress of his legal fight had finally shown up in his body. While fans gathered outside the courtroom in worried groups, Rick Harrison was seen briefly visiting a co-worker and friend. Many of them were shocked by the dramatic end of the case. The legal decision was quickly overshadowed by the medical drama. Entertainment websites and social media were filled with worry, with fans flooding the sites to voice their concerns. Posts and updates with encouraging words and hashtags like #Chumlee Strong and Pawn Star Family were all over social media. After 3 days, Chumlee put out a video message from his home. He was still shaking, but his famous smile was back. He said in a weak effort at humor, "Facing the consequences of my actions seems to have triggered my anxiety. The doctor tells me I need to pick better things." I agree with him. The worry about his health seemed to cause a big change in Chumlee's public image. The History Channel did something which was a surprise. According to an unnamed source, the network wanted him to stay on the show after he got better because they saw his legal problems as a chance for a real redemption story. The officials wouldn't confirm future plans or talk about specific arrangements, but Chumlee's next statement had a different tone. I let my image get in the way of what I did. He told me I did things wrong that could have cost me everything. His attitude was surprisingly serious. I'm thankful for this time. This is a chance, and I promise my fans I won't waste it, Chumlee said. Talk about what might happen next was all over the entertainment world. This court case changed his life, and as a well-known reality TV star, people could relate to stories of salvation. It was now possible for Chumlee to tell the media a true story. People who saw him said that he seemed to be focused on his legal business activities and following all the court's rules. Fans wrote a lot of positive comments on social media about the idea of his possible return, but there was no official proof. When asked exactly when Chumlee would be back on TV, neither he nor the network gave a specific date. Chumlee gave a thoughtful answer. The court case, which was once thought to be the end of his career, turned out to be a turning point. People were still very interested in porn stars, with many fans saying they want Chumlee to eventually come back to the show that made him popular. People who have seen him go from being an unknown worker at a pawn shop to a TV star will find this courtroom drama a stark warning of the bad things that can happen when you're famous. People who saw the fall were shocked that it wasn't just a man losing it. It could also be the start of a more real public image coming out from behind the carefree persona. What do you think about how fame affects how people make decisions? Drop your ideas in the box below.